everybody, it's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last two videos that I've made on this channel, on the Bull Show, talking about Lonzo Ball, talking about the point guard position, there have been a lot of people panicking about the Chicago Bulls recently, saying that we're not going to be very good next season, and that there's a lot of worrying concerns that will happen to the Chicago Bulls that will make us a little bit worse than last season. Now, we'll take a deeper dive into, I guess, all of these things, whether or not you should feel worried about the Chicago Bulls next year, and if there is any positive at the end of the tunnel, because that's probably the most important thing that many people would want to talk about. Where are the positives for the Chicago Bulls? Where are they going to come from? And will we see a better Chicago Bulls team next season? We'll talk all about that. I'll try to be as brutally honest as possible, whether it's a positive side or a negative side. We do need to look at the negatives and the positives of the Chicago Bulls at this moment, and where we can see our progression lie. It's very, very important. And before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about where do you see our progression lying for the Chicago Bulls, and should you be worried about this team? Now, usually I don't make these types of videos unless we go on a massive losing streak. I made a video very similar to this a few months back when we were on this massive losing streak in February and March, especially March. That was an astonishing time for the Chicago Bulls, very, very upsetting, and I think everybody felt the real negatives of that time. And I feel like a lot of people are starting to feel those negative times again, because Lonzo Ball was not part of those times, and it looks like Lonzo Ball will not be part of the start of the regular season for the Chicago Bulls. We've heard some crazy things about Lonzo Ball over the past couple of days. Some people going as far to say that Lonzo Ball won't be back at all. Some people are saying that Lonzo Ball just won't be part of the regular season. Some people say that Lonzo Ball could miss most of the season, like what Malik Monk did. All these things, a lot of hypotheticals, nothing really confirmed at the moment about Lonzo Ball, but ultimately, all we know about Lonzo Ball right now is that he's going to miss training camp, and he's most likely going to miss the start of the season. That's all we know. And of course, it can get worse, it can get better. We can feel optimistic, we can have hope. Or a lot of people, the way they're feeling right now, there's a little bit of negativity, a little bit of doubt towards the Chicago Bulls at the moment. So we need to take a dive into that. Everybody that's saying or is feeling doubtful about the Chicago Bulls, at the end of the day, I'm not here to change your mind. There are some worrying concerns about the Chicago Bulls, we've got to be honest. The fact that Lonzo Ball will not be part of the Chicago Bulls training camp, in my opinion, is a huge blow. The training camp is supposed to be where everybody finds a little bit more chemistry. Lonzo Ball gets to meet his new teammates, like a Dalen Terry, like a Goran Dragic, like an Andre Drummond. And for a point guard, I've always said this: if a team does not have a good starting point guard, or a team is missing their starting point guard, that team will struggle. And there's no statistical analysis behind that. It's not something that it's seen as a fact or anything like that. That's my personal belief. I 100% believe if you're missing your starting point guard, or your starting point guard is not a good point guard, then at the end of the day, your team will struggle. Teams with Stephen Curry, teams with really, really strong point guards do well. And that's because you got quality in the playmaking side, you got quality in the shooting sides, you got really good aspects from the point guard position. A good point guard helps and goes a long way towards any team. And if a team does not have a good point guard, they struggle, whether it's injuries or anything like that. It will be a hard time for those teams. So to sit here and say that the Chicago Bulls are going to be an absolutely dominant team without Lonzo Ball is very hard to say, because we are missing our starting point guard. We are missing, in my opinion, the engine of the team. Someone that may not be the best player on the team, but does almost a little bit of everything. He's a good scorer, good three-point shooter, good defender, good playmaker, leader in every sense of the word as well. We're missing that with Lonzo Ball. And unfortunately, it would be wrong for me to say that I truly 100% believe in my heart that without Lonzo Ball, we will be a better team. That is incorrect in my opinion. And the Bulls will have to prove us wrong in that instance. But until Lonzo Ball is healthy, ready to return, we will have to worry about that. We will have to look at the other guards that I've mentioned in the last video, talking about the Ios and the Carusos, the Goran Dragic's, even other positions as well. You got to look at these things and try to find the best available players to fill the role that Lonzo Ball will leave behind. You're not going to find the next Lonzo Ball on this Chicago Bulls team. You're not going to go down and say, oh no, Lonzo Ball is out. Who's the next guy that's going to be Lonzo Ball? You should not be looking at that as a team. You need to find your development. You need to find players that will fit the system well. You need to find players that will be better versions of themselves, not Lonzo Ball. So it's really, really unfortunate that we have to do that. But that's the price we pay with injuries. You can't always be healthy 100% of the time. You shouldn't be saying, for another example, if Zach LaVine is out, let's just say he gets injured, he's out for 20, 30 games this season. Let's hope it doesn't happen, but what if it does happen? You got to look at these things. And if Zach LaVine is out, you shouldn't be saying, okay, where can we find the next Zach LaVine? Because you're not going to find it on this team. You're not going to find the really strong quality players on this team off of the bench. They're going to have to come in, try to fill a gap that would be very hard to fill, but they've got to be better versions of themselves. They can't be better versions of Zach LaVine. They can't live up to those standards. At the end of the day, it's a 15-man team. Not everybody's Zach LaVine, and not everybody's Lonzo Ball. You got to find the best versions of themselves, which is where the optimism comes in. Because in my opinion, when we look at the negatives and the doubts that we have, you got to look to the players that we do have as well. And I think the players that we have in those guard positions brings optimism. It's not Lonzo Ball. I don't think any of them will be Lonzo Ball, past or present, or in the future, I should say. But we've got guys like Alex Caruso that can very much fill a defensive hole that we would be missing with Lonzo Ball. He's a defensive leader, fantastic guy that you would want on your team. He's a hustle player, he's vocal. Everything you want in a guard, you can get with Alex Caruso coming off of this bench or potentially starting. You got the veteran experience of Goran Dragic on this team that we didn't have last year that can fill the void and maybe play parts of a really good point guard, a true point guard in every sense of the word. He's played point guard his whole career. He can come in and bring that veteran leadership at that point guard position as well, that even with Lonzo Ball we did not have on this team last year. You got Ayo Dosunmu, a youthful, expressive, confident player that, in my opinion, has taken leaps and bounds as a point guard last season. And although many people might not see him as a point guard, maybe he won't be playing point guard next season, but he can do that role and he can develop in that role as well. And we've all come to see that. There's optimism in these players. These players can help the Chicago Bulls win a lot of games. Are we going to be the same team as we were last year? Ultimately, we don't know. Every other team has gotten stronger. Have we truly gotten stronger? That's the real question. We talk about Andre Drummond, we talk about Goran Dragic, the re-signing of Zach LaVine, the re-signing of Derrick Jones Jr. as well. Has this team gotten truly stronger? We felt a lot of injuries last year. Coming into this Chicago Bulls season with another injury to worry about is not the best of starts. And compared to all other teams that don't have injuries, we are at a disadvantage. There's no question about that. But we've got quality. Everyone's saying we don't have quality. We have quality. We've got two All-Stars that were All-Stars last season. We've got Nikola Vucevic at the center position who has proven to be an All-Star in the past as well. There's quality here that can help us win games. It just comes down to, in my opinion, how we can make the best out of the situation that we have at that point guard position, how we can develop and progress these types of players, these guards that are going to need to step up for the Chicago Bulls, and just try to last as long as we can until Lonzo Ball can return. I don't believe Lonzo Ball's out for the season. I know people may say that as a joke or a meme, whatever it is. I don't think Lonzo Ball is out for the season. I honestly don't. I think we will see him at some points. The real question is, I guess, how long we'll have to wait and what he can bring once he returns. Because everybody has said it. Lonzo Ball makes this team easier to play with. Everybody has said it. Zach has said it. DeMar has said it. Vucevic has said it. Playing with Lonzo Ball is easy. He makes the game easier. That is something that we are going to struggle with. We will lose a lot of that momentum that we had when Lonzo Ball was out. We will feel that as well. But there's development in this team as well. This is why I was talking about not trading everybody to go get Rudy Gobert, not trading a Patrick Williams or an Ayo or a Kobe alongside a Vucevic and multiple first-round picks to go and get a Rudy Gobert. Because this team, as much as many people call it old, DeMar's a year older, Vucevic is a year older, there's development in this team. You got a young Kobe White, you got a young Dalen Terry, you got a young Ayo Dosunmu, you've got a veteran leader in Goran Dragic as well that can bring that little bit of veteran leadership that we lose as well. We've got young Patrick Williams. I almost forgot about him. Just because he's not a guard doesn't mean he's not developing. There's development in this team just as much as there's experience as well. So that's where our optimism has to come from. If you want to be negative and doubtful, I can't tell you how to feel. And honestly, if you feel doubtful for the season, it's really up to you. There's no statistical evidence that say we'll have a great start or a poor start. The fact of the matter is, you got to look at some of the development of these guys, and that's where my optimism comes from. The development in Patrick Williams is where my optimism for us being a good team with or without Lonzo Ball comes from. My optimism from looking at Io and seeing his second year performance is where my optimism comes from, being good or bad without Lonzo Ball. I think that's where my optimism comes from. Even Kobe White, someone has a point to prove. I'm optimistic about Kobe White right now because at the end of the day, he has a point to prove and he has to deliver. And this is a contract season for him as well. Contract season for Vucevic. They have to deliver. That's where my optimism comes from. There's a lot on the line for the Chicago Bulls. It's not just Lonzo Ball on this team. It's not Team Lonzo. If Lonzo's here, we instantly become championship contenders. We've got to figure out the depth of this team to the point where if someone is injured, we can still be seen in that light. That's what a good championship team should be. When one person is out, you got guys stepping in to that position, playing their own style, but we're still seen in that light as well. That's where good championship teams come from. Of course, if you have a generational guy like a Giannis or a Stephen Curry, it will be harder to do. But we need to aspire to that. We need to aspire to be a championship team with and without Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball may make it easier, but we've got to find ways to do it without Lonzo Ball as well. And with his injury record over the past couple seasons, we really need to think about that, which is why I think we brought in guys like Goran Dragic. But all things considered, if you feel negative, it's up to you. I feel a little bit optimistic, but of course, Lonzo Ball not coming is a big key. I was very excited about Lonzo Ball at the start of the year for the Chicago Bulls, and I wish we could see him. And there's still small hope that we will see him, but yeah, it's not looking very good in terms of, I guess, Lonzo Ball at the start of the season. Hopefully he'll be back early. Hopefully he'll be back when he's 100%, because that's the most important thing for the Chicago Bulls. Health is going to be key. We need to learn how to be a good team with and without Lonzo Ball. We need to learn how an injury to a player, how we can adapt. Unfortunately, we're not going to get 82 games from Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan even, Nikola Vucevic even. I don't think you can expect 82 games from the best of the best players, but when those players are out, you got to figure out how to be a good team. And I guess another example of this, even though they didn't get very far, when Giannis and the Bucks beat us in the playoffs, they did it for the majority without Chris Middleton. Their second guy, their guy that they rely on shooting, the guy they rely on two-way capabilities. They're basically their scorer. They lost their scorer and they adjusted, they adapted, and they found a way to beat this team. Granted, it wasn't a very good team at the time, and they adapted and they won. And they won the series. And that's how we need to learn. We need to learn how to adjust to these things. So with Lonzo Ball out, that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting us to adjust, and I'm expecting us to deliver on the court. Good games, bad games, whatever it is. If it's an ugly game, we got to deliver. We got to get some wins, especially at the start, and move our way forward. And hopefully with Lonzo Ball back, we can get those easy wins that we probably are looking for as well. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I will make a poll once again. I feel like I'm enjoying these polls that I've been making recently. I'll make a poll about whether or not you are optimistic or doubtful about the Chicago Bulls this season. It's still very early, and we haven't really seen this team play. We don't know how much of an impact Andre Drummond can make as the backup center. We've been crying out for a backup center. I honestly think we're going to be one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA next season because we've got two very good rebounders on the same team. One coming on, one in the starting lineup, one coming off of the bench. I think that's going to be very huge for us. Not to mention that I do feel like if we have if we have a lot less injuries, let's say, with this team, I do feel like a little bit of continuity and strengthening together will help us as well. I don't think it's all doom and gloom for the Bulls. I do think there's optimism, but we can't lie and say Lonzo Ball's not going to be a big miss. We just got to learn how to play without him at the moment. And when he's here, hopefully he'll be able to stay healthy. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.